Hey guys, it's Sonny and making a video here today, much needed. The title of this video is not a clickbait. I'm going to be talking about the sailing XP nerfs that came out this morning, Wednesday, December 3rd. This legitimately, I think, is maybe the worst update in the history of the game. And, I'm not talking EOC, obviously, but old school RuneScape. This is maybe the worst job I think they've ever done. So, without further ado, getting into it here, just to start off, I posted, kind of a long thought on sailing on Twitter, but essentially, when sailing came out, as it was before today, I really enjoyed the skill. I thought it was actually really well done, and I still think a lot of this, a lot of it is still really well done. I still do enjoy a lot of these parts of it. So the breadth of the skill and how much they actually released, how much content we got, I thought that was great. I did not think we were gonna get as much with this skill as we did. There's so many new areas they added. There's so many, all these ports. I didn't think we were going to get this many ports. It integrates pretty well with the game. I thought they did a good job. What I really thought they kind of lacked was different training methods. And I think this update today has made it even worse. So, you have the Barracuda trials. I'm kind of iffy on Barracuda trials. I think, I think they're pretty good for active XP, but I also think they're, it's just the ship movement's just a little weird for you've got really, especially on these later trials, you've got like these really precise turns, you've got these really precise hitboxes for the for the boxes that you need to get, the crates. It's really precise hitboxes for the crates, and sometimes you feel like you drive right over one and you don't get one, and that's frustrating. And yeah, it's just, and like the turning radius of the boats, it still feels a little clunky sometimes. It's kind of laggy. The loading lines like give you a bunch of dead clicks. So I think the theory of it's great. In practice, it could use a little work, but it's not terrible. It's not horrible. I thought like ship combat just is stupid. It's just completely useless. And honestly, like they talk about in this update today, kind of like expanding it, adding new stuff. They should just honestly like abandon it. I don't see how they're gonna get ship combat in. Like what ship combat should be is it should just be you doing combat on your ship. Maybe firing cannonballs for like a supplemental, but like you shouldn't have a damage nerf on your ship. So you should be like shadowing a boss, hitting 60s like you normally would. You shouldn't, lose any damage. And then your cannon should just hit like a Slayer cannon, basically. And just like kind of add a little bit of bonus damage to that. And then they obviously need to fix how many cannonballs you lose, because it's like insane. You're losing a fuck ton of money. So, I think ship combat in general, like you see people talking about like sailing raids and stuff. There's not even close to enough, just like a depth in ship combat to add any sort of like high level PVM to it. So I think that goes without saying. Like we should just completely abandon that idea, basically. So and then salvaging, salvaging when it came out was probably the best training method in like the history of the game, in that you are like essentially not playing the game and getting giga cracked rates. And I actually thought they did a really good job with the rates. So the Gwyneth glide is what, like 250k at a high level, when you're doing it kind of like, rosewood everything. I think that's pretty good for a top out. And then salvaging was like 100, I don't know, 120k at a high level, just doing like kind of AFK. I thought that was great too. I mean, it's like half, you're getting about half as much XP as you are doing the high level method, but it's still really good. Like 120 for a pretty AFK method is great. So I really liked that. I liked where it was. And then today's update came out. So for you guys who did not know, essentially today's update all like was based around this crystal extractor, this thing right here. So the crystal extractor, it extracts a crystal, gives you a boost to your boat, and it gave 600 XP per click. So that's pretty good. Essentially, if you were to just like bank stand and click your crystal extractor, you're getting 30k an hour, essentially. Like 34k an hour, but with movement timing, you're never going to be first take. Like 30k an hour with a crystal extractor. So you're basically just getting a 30k an hour buff to like anything you're doing with the crystal extractor. And they said, hey, this is like a little too much XP. And it makes sense, like the 30k an hour for just clicking once a minute is like, a 600 XP drop is kind of big. So they said, hey, we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to, they said, quote, we're going to redistribute that XP elsewhere. So essentially, we're nerfing the crystal extractor, but don't worry, we'll give you back XP. So, and in theory, that sounds great, right? Because the issue with salvaging was that you get this crystal extractor at level 73 sailing. We were able to do the Gwyneth trial. But before the crystal extractor, you're getting like half the XP rate. So the extractor was like half of the XP you were getting before or after level 73. So after level 73, you're getting like 70k an hour, and 30k of that's coming from the extractor. So before that, when you're level 71, you're getting like 40k an hour. It's not actually that great. It's the salvaging kind of stinks before you get the extractor. So that was kind of the issue. And so like in theory, I was kind of all for this update. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like we're gonna actually like level out the XP rates. Throughout the skill a little better, so you don't get this massive buff once you get this thing. In actuality, that is not what happened. So in actuality, they did nerf the extractor, so it went from 600 XP a click to 250 XP a click. Basically, that's like 12k. You're getting like 12k an hour now with the extractor. So, going from 30k to 12k, a little less than half the XP. And again, they said, we will buff it, so we will buff other methods so this gets redistributed. They did not do that. In fact, they actually nerfed almost every method in the game except port tasks, which are by far the worst method. No one likes port tasks. I talked about this when I talked about the beta. Port tasks, and everyone said this, since sailing came out, everyone's like, issue with it when everyone was complaining about like 1 to 30 training was, hey, from 1 to 30 you have to do port tasks, and these suck. You're just doing Uber Eats, you're door dashing from point to point, you're sailing from A to B. It's not enjoyable, it's not fun. I've said that, everyone has said this since like the skill came out, since the beta. I've been saying this since the beta. So they nerf salvaging across the board. So not only do you nerf the extractor, which is a nerf to salvaging, they also add on another nerf to salvaging. So for example, I'm at Fremies right now. I'm getting 74-ish K an hour, and this is actually a little high because they changed the way that these salvages actually respawn slower now. So I've just kind of gotten lucky. I'm at like a point where they've been respawning, but you can hit like a dead spot where you won't have a salvage, up for a while. So you either have to move your boat, which is super annoying, like going back and forth, or you have to world hop, which I don't want to world hop, right? So you're just like, basically you're losing. I would say in actuality, if you're going like doing what I'm doing, salvaging, paying attention, right? I'm not like giga AFKing. I'm not having my crewmates do it. I'm hitting my extractor, I'm salvaging, I'm sorting when nothing's up, and I'm getting, I would say, like 70k an hour. Last night before this nerf, it was over 100k. So we're over 30% nerf right there to the salvaging. And if you were like not paying, you're looking at like 65k. So you have a huge, that's a huge nerf to salvaging right there. And like 70k an hour is at like 84 is not great. That's not, you're less than like a lot of wood cutting methods. Like let's say once you get to 90, you're looking at less than redwoods. They added the new ironwood logs, which are like even better than redwoods, which they never said anything about that coming to the game. They completely nerfed or they completely like buffed wood cutting without letting anyone know that was going to happen. But yeah, you get this huge nerf, and then on top of that, like I said before you get the extractor, you also have a nerf across the board. So you're getting like 30k XP an hour now before you're level 73 instead of the 40k. So you're actually getting a nerf, and then you're not even getting as big of a jump. So just across the board, everything about salvaging is worse. Everything about salvaging is worse. Barracuda trials are slower because they didn't buff the rates of Barracuda trials like they said they would. Again, they said in the original blog, we are going to nerf the extractor and we are going to buff other methods. They did not do that. They nerfed the extractor and then they said, well, we're just going to leave Barracuda trials alone. So they've nerfed Barracuda trials effectively with that. The only method, again, that is better is they have buffed the port tasks, which no one likes. And they were already good Port tasks were already better than salvaging. It was already better XP. It was like 150, 160k XP an hour, at the high level, doing port tasks instead of salvaging. So it's like, if you want to do that, but no one did it because it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. They're super boring. You're going from A to B to A to B. It's insane. I liked this skill. I thought they did a really good job. They have completely neutered it. They have taken everything people like and they have destroyed it into the ground. It's just it's just so out of touch. It's really hard to understand. It's really hard to understand. And then you look at like the drop rates they've released today. The rates for the pet make absolutely zero sense. It's like 190 mil an hour, or 190 mil XP at the highest level Barracuda trial to go on rate for pet. It makes zero sense. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. I don't understand why, like, which JMods thought this was a good idea. Who looked at these numbers and were like, this is good. And I just don't understand why, like, the whole, kind of logic behind nerfing everything across the board was Jagex was like, people are, like, training the skill too fast. I understand you've spent a lot of time on the skill, but kind of the beauty of sailing is like there's still a lot to, you can still interact with sailing even after you're level 99, right? It's kind of one of the few skills in the game. I would actually, like, I would come back and do stuff in this skill just for fun. Like, getting around is kind of fun. There's a lot of, like, it's good money, like killing there's great white sharks and vampire krakens. Like, that's pretty good money. They need to change the boat combat. Like, that's a whole nother thing. And see, look, like, now my salvage is depleted, and it's gonna absolutely nerf my XP rates unless I, like, world hop or unless I drive my boat over. So, like, if you were doing this on mobile, because driving the boat over like this on mobile when you have to get, like, super precise locations, horrible. So mobile gaming, you've gotten completely shafted here, because you're just not going to be able to go from, like, A to B. So yeah, I don't know. They took what was a really good update and they have completely destroyed it with this terrible overtune tweak. I think they're gonna have to roll this back. Everyone hates this. Like, Reddit hates this. Twitter doesn't hate it because they just, like, you got the 200 millers and they're like, actually a lot of people do hate it, but then you got some people are like, oh good, nothing can be AFK in this game. So it is what it is. Whatever. Like, I don't see the issue in making the skill fast. They said they wanted the skill to be in the top 50%, and that's the other thing. They go, hey, we want the skill to be, like, in the top half of skills for speed, but then we're going to completely nerf, like, the main training method everyone uses. So now people are getting, like, 70k an hour at a top end, going to 99. Like, that is not top half of, that is not in, like, the top half of XP in the game. So I don't know what they were thinking. Hopefully they roll it back, but it's just so stupid. And then, it's bad. This is what Jagex does too. I don't know if you guys notice this. Whenever they release an update like this that they know is going to be terrible, or like a blog post that is horribly received, they go completely radio silent. So you can go, like, look on the Reddit, look on the Twitter, look on the Discord. There's not a single JMod replying to anything. They're not replying to any comments. They're not saying anything. They're completely radio silent. Hopefully they just roll this back soon, because the annoying thing is, like, you get, you're just spending a day or so just doing completely the dog shit nerfed rates until they eventually roll this back, which I'm sure they will, because it's just so bad. So I don't know. I'm frustrated, as you can tell. I think this is just completely overtuned. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. They could have nerfed. I mean, look, I would not have hated a nerf to sailing, right? To salvaging. If they want to nerf the 30-minute AFK, like, have your crewmates do everything for you, that's completely fine. But, like, the way I'm training it right now, I'm, like, actively salvaging. I'm, doing, I'm sorting, and sorting's completely useless now too, by the way. Like, there's no reason to sort at all, essentially. I'm just sorting because I have nothing to do. But the way I'm doing it here, they've nerfed this into the ground too, and that's just, there's no need to do that, I don't think. I didn't think this was, like, too good where they had to nerf this into the ground. I mean, maybe they could have gone from, like, if they went from, like, 100k to 90k, like a 10% nerf, that's fine. I think if you nerf the if you would have just nerfed the extractor, so you bring it down 20k ish, right? You're bringing it down 18k XP an hour, and then you slightly buff like active like player salvaging to kind of add a couple k XP. You lose 10%. I think that's fine, right? But this, you're 30 like 35% nerf. And I'm not exaggerating. That is how bad this is across the board. It's ridiculous. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Have you been enjoying sailing? Let me know what you think about sailing. And then also, what do you think about this update, this nerf? Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. As always, hope you guys have a great rest of your week.